you were in Chula Vista, a month ago?
Yeah.
For a part of a small boats camp for para rowing. So even though NCAAs are over, your life as a para athlete, you're still on the road to Tokyo right now, whenever Tokyo may be. You were a Paralympic swimmer.
I was.
Yeah. And what is your physical disability?
My right arm was paralyzed when I was born, and it is partially paralyzed now. So multiple muscles that I have are inactive, which means they never developed after I was born. I'm missing 60% of my rotation, and I have 0 external rotation and severe nerve damage.
And for people that don't know what the clinical diagnosis, it's an obstetrical brachial plexus injury.
So for people, why would they need to know that?
No, because some people they look at you and they think that you're fine, and it's
that's what partially paralyzed me.
I know,
but if you say obstetrical brachial plexus injury, nobody that's watching this is gonna be like, oh yeah, now I get it.
No, but it's just it gives the scientific name to
so
what it is.
They can Google it.
Exactly. Well, no, so that kids that possibly would see this that have a brachial plexus injury might think, that person's like I am.
I feel like they would get that from the name brachial plexus injury.
But you didn't say that. You said you had a partially paralyzed arm. You didn't use the name brachial plexus injury.
Probably relate to it.
Okay, so anyhow, you have a brachial plexus injury.
I do.
How old were you when you were classified as a Paralympic swimmer?
I was 12 years old, I believe.
And what age did you start swimming? What age did I force you to swim against your will and fight with you?
I was like 5 years old, because you found out I had scoliosis. And so you made me do like swim lessons when I was 5, and then you made me join a competitive swim team when I was 7.
Well, you started swim lessons actually in Canada at the Bishop Strong School.
They've made us take swim lessons.
Yeah, but the whole class did it. You liked it.
I did.
You just didn't like swim team.
Yeah, I didn't like swim team because all of a sudden it was a lot harder when you join a swim team, because when you're like just swimming in like a swim class, you go across the pool once and then you blow bubbles, and then you join a competitive swim team when you're 7, and then all of a sudden it's a lot more swimming.
Swimming is part of the reason why you have so much range of motion.
I know, and it's not like I hated it the entire time.
You just hated it at the beginning.
Yeah, it took me a couple years, and this sounds bad, but once I started getting pretty good at it, I really enjoyed it. But I feel like that's most things, most sports you don't like until like you start getting into a good groove, a good rhythm, and I didn't have that for a very long time. But once I was like 11 or 12, I really started to enjoy what I was doing.
When were you on your first Team USA team?
I think I was 15. Yeah, I made my first team when I was 15, and then I competed on that team when I was 16. No, I was 15. I made it when I was 14. And then I competed on it when I was 15.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, because then I made my second one when I was 16 and competed on that one when I turned 17, because my birthday is in the summer, which is always when we end up competing. So It's always kind of in between birthdays for me.
And, talking about the games potentially being postponed. I was searching for the word.
Yeah.
This is not your first go around.
No,
it's not your
third.
second. It's your third.
Yep.
Third potential trip to represent the United States at the Summer Games.
Yeah.
The summer of 2016.
Oh God, such a rough summer.
It was a rough summer. So tell me.
It was a rough life. That was a hard year.
Well, you broke one of your records, and then you broke your 50 record and your 100 record that had been on the books for like 13 years.
Yeah, I broke 2 records in one day, one of them being a record I already held, and that was in February of 2016. That was the year of the games for Rio. Did you hear that?
Yeah. This microphone picks up everything. Hello, neighbors who are also self-quarantining.
But yeah, it was looking really good. Like the progress I was making was like steadily increasing. After the American records, I I think a week after I'd broken them, I got strep throat, and I ended up getting strep throat 10 times in the span of 4 months. I was on 4 different antibiotics, and having strep throat that many times in such a short period of time, I was getting strep throat about like 3 times per month. My body was just absolutely wrecked. And by the time I got to the trials, I had actually tested positive for strep throat again that week leading up to it. And I just didn't have anything left in me. My body was so weak, and my mind was just so weak as well. And it really, really, really messed me up at the trials. That was the worst performance I've ever had in my life.
At the Olympic trials, if you come in first or second, you punch your ticket to the games.
Yeah.
And in Paralympic swimming,
Doesn't matter if you get first or second.
It doesn't matter if you win every event.
No, it doesn't, which I did. I won every event, but it didn't matter because you have to be, I believe, it's like some percentage away from medal status, which
Is
it
it
comes
5% within bronze medal or 3%?
It comes out to be like top 10 to 8 away from medal status. But all I had to do was drop like 2 seconds in 100 backstroke, which sounds like a lot, but I hadn't dropped in that event in like 2 years, and the times I was going leading up to it were right on point for that time. And in the 400 free, I think I had to drop like 3 or 4 seconds, which was my other event, and I added a significant amount of time in both. I wasn't even close. And the 100 backstroke was my last event of the
last
trials,
day.
on the last day of the trials, and all I had to do was just do what I had trained to do what my body had trained to do. And I remember that race. I normally don't remember races, but I remember that race because I was like fighting my mind and my body the entire time. And when I hit the wall, I looked up and I saw my time, and I had added like 2 or 3 seconds. And I immediately just burst into tears because like if I had made that time, I would have gone. And I didn't, and it was just over. Like I knew at that point, like it was over. In the weeks following, well, first I didn't make the team going to Rio, so, most devastating moment of my entire life. Trained for that my entire life. And then my boyfriend broke up with me, and then the day after he broke up with me, I got appendicitis, and I had to have emergency surgery to get my appendix removed. And then the day after that, it was my 18th birthday. It was such a bad year. Like, when we say it was a bad year, like, it was a bad year.
It was just...
It was a one thing after the other. Strep throat, trials, boyfriend, appendicitis.
Well, the irony is you went to George's house, and Julie Young consoled you after the boyfriend breakup, but then called me before I picked you up the next day and said, it's really weird. Like, Serafina said her stomach was hurting and she didn't eat anything for breakfast.
I didn't. I know, and that's when you know, because everyone knows I eat like a linebacker. Like, I will have 5 plates of food every single meal, and I didn't eat breakfast.
She's like, I think something's wrong with her, and that was...
And you brought me a donut, and I didn't eat the donut either. I didn't eat a donut.
I know.
In front of me.
The silver lining is that, well, you didn't get cleared to swim until September from Dr. Can't remember his name.
Shout out to Dr. whatever who gave me my surgery.
He was awesome.
He was. No, he was a good guy.
He was really good.
I didn't get cleared until September on the DL. I started swimming in August.
Well, the end of August because
I was training. I was just doing open water swimming once I started swimming again, and I was doing the Los Angeles County Ocean Lifeguard test swim, open water swim.
All the swimming you did was essentially the lifeguard course. You and you had a couple friends.
Me and Annika Gilboy would go down there, and we would do the lifeguard course like twice a week.
So the silver lining is that you were able to be in LA and do the lifeguard swim test.
Yeah, and I made it.
And
now
you made it
I'm
through.
in LA County Ocean Lifeguard. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to say that on camera.
Are you? Well, you can.
No,
just...
I am. I'm allowed to say that. People have it in their like school bios half the time. We're fine.
Okay, so you're in LA County Ocean Lifeguard.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, so that was the silver lining.
It was a silver lining. I mean, I would say that like that was great.
Going to Rio
but I'm
could have
saying
been better.
It would have been really awesome if I could go to Rio. Like that was an awesome. Everything happens for a reason. I'm so glad all of that happened because it's brought me to where I am today. I absolutely love rowing. I love what I'm doing with my team. I don't think I'm a better rower than I am a swimmer. I think I'm more mature as a rower than I was when I was a swimmer. That's the difference. Just when I was a swimmer, my priorities were to win. And those were very, like, young and naive priorities to have. And now I recognize that in order to succeed, I have to love what I'm doing every second. And if there's something I hate, I have to do it enough where it becomes meditative, where it becomes easy. And that's something that I never had when I was a swimmer.